Canes fans, gather around here at the Voice of College Football to talk up Miami football here on a Thursday night. We got Cam Underwood on the line from State of the USP Nation. So, of course, head on over there on a regular basis to check out their work covering Miami athletics, football in particular. Cam, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Sorry about the late start. Had some technical difficulties this evening randomly. Yeah, I think this might be one of the first times I'm not wearing a Miami Hurricane shirt. I got my timing wrong. I was actually out walking around a park here in Fort Lauderdale. I had to bust it back double time like I was the private or whatever from Saving Private Ryan, double timing back from that post or whatever. But I'm here and everything.
Yeah, really no one to blame here on the technical difficulties. But if I sound a little bit different, everyone, then that means I've just basically disconnected everything in terms of any kind of audio. Because Cam jumped on, we couldn't connect for some reason, couldn't get the audio out. And so I just disconnected all audio boards, microphones, everything, just so we could have some semblance of a show this way. So I'm disconnected, just in case you wonder where the microphone is and why I sound a little bit different. And yeah, I'm wearing my customary black shirt. I think I counted about 17 of these that I own at one point. So, all right. We'll get started this way, Cam.
Yeah.
We had you on, of course, our customary time last Thursday night. So between then and now, what has come out of spring camp of note?
Just guys are working. You got Rhett Lashley. He was talking to the media today after practice, was talking about the fact of really leaning into this quarterback competition. Well, not competition, but development time, just because you have everybody getting more reps than they otherwise would because Derek King is out, obviously. So Tyler Van Dyke getting the reps, at the top of the rotation, he's getting tons of reps to develop. Jake Garcia as a true freshman, early enrollee, he's getting a lot of reps in time to develop. You even have a guy like Peyton Matoka, and he's even, getting a chance to shine and develop as he can and everything. So, yeah, just really taking that time to move forward. There's lots of talk about guys maybe changing positions. Zach Mccloud has already changed position from linebacker to defensive end, which is similar to what he was going to be asked to do as his career went on with Al Golden as the head coach, the coach that recruited him and everything. So making that move is positive. Jamal Carter, Canesville put out there that they were hearing that he's going to be moving down to striker. Which is fine for me because either way, I think that him as a rotation player, not a starting foundational player on the defense, is the prudent move for him and for the defense moving forward at both positions. I mean, at safety, you're going to have guys like Bubba Bolden, Gervin Hall, James Williams, Cam Kinchins, Brian Balaam, Avante Williams, they're going to be towards the top of your rotation. At striker, you got Gilbert Frierson and Keontre Smith. So it's, going to be interesting for Amari Carter to find a way on the field or some time to get snaps because I think that all of those players that I listed are more proficient at their given positions than he. Rhett Lashley also talked about finding a number one running back, redeploying the carries in a different kind of a way this year. I tweeted it out when I saw it, and I'll say it here. Donald Chaney. I just think that he's just head and shoulders over. And again, that's not saying that Cam Harris is bad. He's not. He's very talented. I'm not saying Jalen Knighton is bad. He's not. He's very talented. I think that Donald Chaney Jr. is head and shoulders above both of those guys. So, you got some things like that. You got the little clips of video coming out of practice, people decrying the performance of certain players on the roster. Obviously, just little snippets and clips and things like that. But, just moving forward towards I believe the second scrimmage is tomorrow night. So, yeah, moving towards that.
We've got Cam Underwood on the line from the State of the U. So take advantage because ultimately you guys know what the deal is. You know that he brings it and you guys ultimately produce the show. So if you leave your comments, your questions, anything else in the live chat, I will get it to Cam and answer it myself if it applies. You mentioned the quarterback competition development, Van Dyke and Garcia. Those are the two guys that most people are focusing on because they appear to be the future. Are they similar in style?
They both have big arms. I think that Jake is more mobile than Tyler, but Tyler's not a statue either. Right now, I think that you're really going to see Tyler Van Dyke push the ball down the field more. I know that Jake Garcia had big numbers from that first scrimmage. He did have a pass that was, nice and vertical, but he also did have a swing pass to Xavier Verstreppo where Verstreppo caught that ball at like either -1 from the line or like 1 forward, but then took it 80. So you're going to get a whole lot of run after catch on that one, not a deep throw. But I just think that they both can improve in their accuracy. They both do have the ability to manipulate the pocket. I think it's, again, Jake Garcia is a little bit more athletic in that kind of a way, but both of them have really, really, really incredible arm talent, which is good because you can't just nickel and dime everybody. You're going to have to push that ball vertically. And if we, as the Miami Hurricanes have the kind of talent on the roster, specifically in the wide receiver room, like we should, then pushing the ball vertically is the thing that we should be looking to do. And then obviously when we have the kind of dynamic tight ends that we do every single year, that's going to be part of the vertical passing game as well. Neither one of those guys is really a huge part of the run game, the QB run. Like De'Aaron King is not going to be the same with either one of those guys. But I think that if you play man free and everybody's turning their back to them, if they step up a little bit, they can get some yardage. So, they are going to be a little bit similar. I think that, with Tyler Van Dyke being a second-year true freshman, whatever you want to call it, 1 full year in the system because he came in as early enrollee last year, the game is just a little bit slower for him than is Jake Garcia. It's still fast for 13 right now just because he was playing high school ball, this fall. So, it's still that same thing like we talked about with every quarterback when they get up to this level, whether it's N'Kosi Perry, Jaron Williams, Kyle Wright, any of the quarterbacks, in our room or other rooms, you think, okay, well, that's a throw that I can make. And then all of a sudden that linebacker or safety is flashing in that window in a way that is not the same, even playing major college or high school football in Southern California or in Georgia. So just getting a hold of that and everything. But Jake Garcia is doing very, very well. His foot is healed. He was held back a little bit in the first couple of days of camp, of spring camp, just to make sure that was all the way healed so he can move around and things like that. But, yeah, they're similar but not the same, if that makes sense.
We've got a free Miami mask awaiting you. So go to voiceofcollegefootball.com, sign up for free. It says register for free at the top of the screen. Do that. Get your coupon code. You get your free college football mask of your favorite team. So it's Miami, and it's about 35 others there to choose from. Got Cam Underwood on the line from State of the U. Of course, we're talking Miami football for the next hour. So in Lashley's discussion addressing the running back situation, you touched on it. Does it sound as though he believes that they can't go into the season with some kind of committee approach, that he really wants a number one back?
He wants somebody to take the majority of carries because it's harder to get somebody in a rhythm if you keep rotating, and I think with having somebody who's in a rhythm, and from what he said, that would be a beneficial addition for the offense. Now, if you look back to SMU when he was there, he had guys who were like, number one in carries, and then there was a clear gap between 2 and 3 and 4, including probably your quarterback somewhere in there, just with scrambles and running around. But yeah, when you have a guy to lean on, different guys run different ways. So in the ways that they work with the offensive line and they read those blocks and hit those holes and work together, it's a symbiotic relationship. So when you keep changing one of those components, even if you have the other thing being constant, you're going to have a different product. So yeah, we're looking for consistency in that. I think was the real foundation for looking to maybe have a number one running back to give a settling foundation to the running game. And then you can add in the other guys because then they can be schemed up to be explosive because you already have, hopefully, a proper level of performance from your set starter or the bell cow, feature back, whatever you want to call it. And no, I'm not going to say that it's going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust like, Michigan in 1971. I'm not going to say it's going to be anything like that. But someone who takes the majority of the snaps to get into a rhythm to help the offense moving forward. That's, I think, what he's looking for.
We see a ton of regulars there in the live chat, including Cheryl. Cheryl, thanks for joining. Moderator Cheryl, who certainly does a fine job there in that role in the live chat. So Sam is asking about Xavier Verstreppo, and Cam gave a very fine dissertation on the show last week, kind of tying that analogy of Major League Baseball to Restrepo. Any further thoughts on that? We understand that everyone's here all the time to hear that.
Yeah, the 4A player comparison to Mike Hessman from the Toledo Mud Hens, famously. Yeah. But I mean, Restrepo, he's a guy who can play, man. He's a gamer, he's a scrapper, and he works really hard. He's you can tell that he's bigger from hitting the weight room and everything. He's only 5'8", 5'9", and you wouldn't think, okay, this Hispanic kid or whatever would like be that kind of athletic and things like that. But I mean, you can look at him and think, that he's not going to do something. But this is a kid who played at St. Thomas Aquinas for 3 years and didn't just like attend Aquinas. He played on those teams. He transferred to Deerfield because Deerfield is one of the schools in Broward County Public Schools that has an IB program. So that has high-level academics, and that trickles down to the regular school as well. But that also, with those high-level academics, lets you graduate early, which is something you cannot do from a lot of the parochial schools because of their second semester religion component to their academic offerings. So he elected to leave St. Thomas to go to another top-tier school, both athletically and academically, in Deerfield, so that he could come to Miami early. He made that, elective choice, and he went there, slotted right in. He's playing every which way. He's playing on returns. He's playing on coverages. He's playing offense. He's playing defense and cornerback and safety, even some linebacker. This is a kid who can play. And, you might think, okay, he's just a gym rat and everything like that. He's way more athletic than people give him credit for. And, he's a kid who has a huge heart on that field. He's going to give it 110%. And you might want to laugh at, those analogies and things like that. But again, between St. Thomas Aquinas for 3 years and Deerfield Beach High School for 1 year, the proof is in the pudding on the field. Xavier Verstreppo was a kid who could play. So, yeah, I did make the analogy last week that he seems to be maybe a 4A player right now as a second-year true freshman, where, and again, the analogy was Mike Hessman, who was a career minor leaguer for the Toledo Mud Hens, which is the AAA team for the Detroit Tigers, who I grew up watching. And I think he has the minor league record for home runs, but he could never really make it as a major leaguer because he couldn't really hit the curveball or a slider, and there was just a gap. But at the AAA level, he's the career leader in this thing. So he's really good above that level, but maybe just not good enough for the next level. Right now, I see Verstreppo as that. He's better than the backups, and we need to see if he can hack it with the starters. Because, I think that all his numbers that he had from that scrimmage came against the second and third teams, which is great. 7 catches for 144 and 2 yards. So he's a class above those backups. I need to see if he can actually fit in with the starters. But he's a kid who I think is definitely going to have a role here moving forward. And, I know everybody wants to have the day one all-stars who, step foot on campus and everybody's All-American. It takes a little bit. You know what I mean? And I know that he might not – I know that he was a polarizing figure in the world of recruiting when we decided to take him. But remember, Braxton Berrios didn't come in as a freshman All-American. He was a great program player. He's a punt returner. He ended up being a foundational guy in that offense, but it took him a couple of years into the middle end of his sophomore year, into his junior year, till he really stepped up into that starting rotation. That could be the progression with Verstreppo. That or even better. But we'll see. But I definitely think as of right now, he's at a minimum of 4A player, and hopefully he's able to elevate into being a really contributing player towards the top of the offense. And if all the reports from practice are coming out, he could easily be in that, 5th, 6th wide receiver kind of thing, which is, 1 or 2 off the bench in that area. It's very possible for him, but we got to see him. I want to see him be able to do those same kind of things against the number 1 defense that he's done against the 2s and the 3s so far.
There's a number of steps that you guys can take to help build the channel, build the show in particular. Hit that like button on your way in, get it done, get it over with, then settle in to watch the show. And participate in the live chat, of course. Share these videos out on social media. All of you, I'm guessing all of you, the reason you're here is you enjoy the discussion, the debate, the analysis, and in particular, Cam's insight. So share the videos out on social media, and keep in mind that the Super Chat is available, and your individual contributions matched with what we can possibly do in the future in regards to sponsorships will help us keep going here. I got a question in on the wide receiver rotation, which I'm guessing is going to be a much easier question for you to answer once you see the spring game.
Yeah, honestly. Well, it's it's still shaking out, but the two constants that I guarantee are going to be at the top are number 3, Mike Harley, and number 11, Charleston Rambo. That's going to be the foundation of the passing game, at least at wide receiver, those two guys. You got Keyshawn Smith, who's looking to make a step forward. You got Michael Redding III. We already talked about Xavier Verstreppo. You have lots of options. I'm interested to see what happens with Mark Pope and D. Wiggins, because we haven't really heard anything from them or about them during the spring. It's been like one little clip here, one little clip there, but not too much. But all the talk of these other guys is great, and I think that they've earned it, and it's worthy for them so far. But 6 and 8 are still on scholarship, so I don't think that just banishing them into the abyss is reasonable, even if it's maybe a little deserved by the part that they dropped 16 and 18% of their targeted passes, catchable balls last year. But yeah, I think that discounting them completely at this time is maybe a little foolhardy, and you can call that a depth chart game or seniority or talk or whatever it is. I just don't necessarily think that writing off Pope and Wiggins at this point is something that we should be doing. In terms of the player, yeah, I mean, and again, there's much to be desired in their performance, but we'll see. So as we go through the next scrimmage and the spring game on the 17th, we'll really be able to see how that rotation is coming together. And then there's always the summer 7-on-7s and things like that. So, but like I said, at the top of the rotation at wide receiver, number 3, Mike Harley, number 11, Charleston Rambo, and then everybody else is going to fit in behind those guys.
Jumping to the next level, and how 2020 Miami Hurricanes project to the next level. Gregory Rousseau and others participated in Pro Day. No NFL Combine this year. And we got a comment coming in just about Rousseau possibly falling down the draft boards and being a fit in Baltimore opposite Calais Campbell.
Yeah, I think that the fit is good. I think that the talk of him being slipping a little bit, it depends on how you look at him. Some people say that he's a defensive end who actually cannot at all beat people off of the edge. I don't necessarily agree with that. I do think that his stronger skill set was interior pass rushing, twisting inside from either a defensive tackle position or from his end position on a TE stunt and going inside. What up, though, Dennis? But yeah, saying that he's not a defensive end, I don't necessarily think that. I do think that he was a little disappointed in his testing numbers athletically at the Pro Day. I would say that that's maybe a fair statement. I think it's foolish. I think it's incredible value if Rousseau were to be a second-round pick. I don't think that he at all should be. He's big, he's strong, he's long, he's quick enough. All these kind of things. Yeah, he took a year off for COVID and everything, but he's not chopped liver. So all of a sudden, going from the number 1 edge in the draft after last season, going into now, we'll see. But yeah, a second round pick for Rousseau is incredible value, and I would think that there would be teams trading up to the top end of that second round to get him if he were to slide. I don't think that would be a wise move for teams, but we've seen these kind of things happen, especially with the hype season that is the NFL draft. So we'll see. People talking about Jadelyn Phillips sliding. I think that Jadelyn Phillips is probably the best edge in this draft. So him sliding should not be a thing. Plus, he lit that Pro Day on fire, which is the other thing. You have that 1-to-1 peer comparison of Jadelyn Phillips, running a rocket speed, jumping out of the gym, doing all these other things. And it's like his 3-cone drill was so fast and quick and da-da-da. And then you have Rousseau, who was average-ish, maybe a little bit above average in those things. But again, the other guy who took over your number when you took off this season. So the new number 15 who was on the field this year did absolutely incredible. And then the past number 15 did all right. You cannot help but look at those two guys at the same time and be like, hey, man, 165, 270, 167, 270, but their testing numbers, and they went back to back in these drills and things that are all, televised. the peer-to-peer comparison right there is really it's going to happen. So again, I don't necessarily think that Gregory Rousseau should be a second-round pick. I definitely think that he's a first-round talent. Both now and on projection to the future. But if he does end up going to the second round, I would say you should be seeing teams trading up to the top of that second round with the quickness and the fury, because that value, like the talent for the value, is going to be such an outsized kind of a thing that I mean, if I was whoever's at the top of the second round, I don't think that I would delay. If I'm the Jaguars, at 33, if he's there, so you get Sunshine Lawrence at 1, or round 1 pick 1, and then you get Rousseau round 2 pick 1, who's a first round draft pick. That's incredible value. So I mean, is it possible that he could slide? Absolutely. We've seen guys slide before. We've seen Aaron Rodgers slide. We've seen Geno Smith slide in the second round. Who thought he was going to be a first round draft pick? Shout out to Miramar High School's own Geno Smith. Things like that. We've seen guys slide. So I'm not going to say it's impossible that Gregory Rousseau slides. I think that in this situation, if he were to slide, again, the value of him as a pick would be so just incredible. It would be the greatest value I think that you could probably get at that slot.
Jadelyn Phillips, the classic example of the guy who was the number 1 guy on the board coming out of high school and college, and his talent proved through the process as well as the scouts evaluation that he was that guy. And so even though he only got a handful of games at UCLA and injury held him back, he showed enough there, and then certainly had the opportunity to go gun to gun for the 2020 season at Miami and show what he was worth. And then boom, the measurables, everything, top of the board. So he entered college as the number 1 guy. He leaves as not the number 1 draft pick, but possibly the number 1 athlete to leave college football. All right. Ronan, yes, we apologize. So we had another link, obviously, but Cam and I were just doing everything we possibly can just to put together a show in some semblance. So we stripped mics, we did this and that, and everything we possibly could with the first link. So just the magic of just starting a new link seemed to solve things. So here we are. Glad you could find us. And also thank you for the super chat that's coming. I will post that to the screen here. Ronan, thank you so much. You know that you are number 1 on our draft board. I made the comment the last time we did a Miami show that there's a group of you that are phenomenal, and I wouldn't want to start listing you because I would leave 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 of you out. But Ronan certainly on that list. No question about that. Thank you so much for the super chat. Cam, Eddie, and myself would like a rendition of Whitney. I have nothing. I thought he was going to go with the ever requested I Will Always Love You, but he goes, I have nothing if I don't have you. Thanks, Paint.
That's that song is a monster. That song is a monster. And in the middle of that key change, don't let me close on. And that's just such a nasty. I mean, you just have to have this, and like you have to have the voice for that, And it's like when I was a choir director and I taught in high school, we had solos for finals every year for my intermediate and advanced choirs, and I had lots of people who wanted to sing Whitney. The students wanted to sing Adele, Mariah Carey, all these great songs that I know and love. But I'm just like, you need a few Mango seasons. Like you got this really quiet, soft, blending, smooth jazz voice. You don't have a Adele voice. You don't have a Whitney Houston kind of voice. And like that song was written for her because she has this incredible instrument. It's just it's so great.
Let's see if I can ask this question accurately and clearly. So the male voice is generally deeper than the female voice.
Uh-huh.
So is for the average singer, and I'm not going to go top end like world class where you went, but an accomplished singer, somebody who can get on a stage and sing. The male voice is going to be deeper, but does the female voice have a wider range because they can sing much higher and nearly as low as the male voice?
I mean, it depends on the voice. Lots of people who have.
And before you finish, the reason I asked that is because you brought up it was brought up a Whitney Houston song. So therefore, is it more difficult for a male singer to adjust to a song that was sung by a female singer? Because even if they drop it a key, then it's then difficult for them to hit the low notes.
See, the thing about it is you have these breaks in your voice. It's called Passaggio. So that's where your voice switches. So like you have the chest voice, the mix, and then the head voice. And those happen at like certain actual tones in life. So for a young lady to sing below an E, that's where you're going to, and it's like if you hear somebody going up, you're going to hear the gear change. Like it's where it switches to how it mixes and things like that. And that break, the passaggio in part of it is like E flat above middle C's. So if you're digging below that, you're going to have to deal with that change. It's like a clarinet player when you cross that break and you have to use the octave or the range key. And like to get that quickly, you have to really have a good handle on your voice. So, I mean, it depends on the voice, because if you have a baritone or bass voice, actually you have a higher falsetto than other people, because you're not actually using the upper part of or the higher vibration part of your vocal folds. So somebody like Prince had a voice like mine. Prince had this really low, deep voice, but he's singing, you don't have to be rich. I can't even do that. But he was, I mean, up there, because you're actually activating a different kind of a thing. So it really just depends on where it's pitched and where the song is pitched, where it's keyed, where the tonic is for that. And then you can modulate, you can move it around a little bit. But yeah, there are things that are difficult for crossing over both ways, whether you're a soprano, a alto, a mezzo, who's coming down to sing a song, whether you're, tenor, baritone, bass, or something going up to sing a song, a different thing. There's certain keys that are just tough for people, and there's certain tones that are just money. Like when I talk choir, I would say, if I gave the tenors certain notes, I'm like, that needs to be heroic tenor note. I mean, you need to just drive that. I'll give you a batting practice fastball. You need to go around singing this part of this song in your classes to that little girl who you try to talk to, because your voice is on center stage right there. So it really just depends on the voice, and it also depends on not just that one individual note, but how you get there and how you get out of there too. To maneuver around. So there's lots and lots and lots of different concerns. I can wax poetic about this a while, but people are probably wanting more football talk. So
well, I was just going to say that nobody's complaining about it yet, and I was going to follow up with another music question until somebody actually complained to the point where they were willing to throw out another topic.
That's fine.
I guess Casey Cruz has to a certain extent about, let's see what this leads to. YouTubers and podcasters talk about how Miami didn't want Tutu Atwell and how we can't lose guys like that in recruiting, but wasn't the reason he didn't come here was because we wouldn't let him play quarterback.
That part right there. Thank you, KC, for the end. The thing about it was, since he was a legendary high school quarterback in Miami Northwestern, he wanted to play quarterback in high school. But all these other schools are in college. All these other schools were very honest about the fact that Tutu Atwell, you're 5'5", maybe 5'6". That's not going to happen. However, they wanted Miami to implicitly then just bring him on at quarterback and recruit him at quarterback in that year. And that's asinine. You're not going to play quarterback at the University of Miami at 5'6". I'm sorry. You were a legendary high school quarterback. I watched a lot of those games down in Travis Powell. I saw Tutu Atwell do things on the high school football field that you will see rarely few people do. You're not going to play quarterback at the college level, nor at the professional level. So if you're coming to college to be developed to go over the NFL, then we're doing you a disservice in putting you at quarterback. I'm sorry. And so that was the real disconnect, and the fact that we were looking at other guys and everything, and it just didn't come together. But yeah, the main thing was the desire for him to play quarterback, and they tried to strong arm it really. He's from the West, he's from the city. You want a kid like this to play quarterback. He could be like Jacory Harris and da 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 da. I'm sorry, bro. Call it heightist, whatever it is. I'm not putting a 5'6" quarterback on the field at the University of Miami ever. I'm sorry, I'm not. And you have a guy who's going to be, when he gets drafted and he gets into the Madden, he's going to have 93, 95 speed. There's a kid. I mean, he scored that 80-yard touchdown on a mesh crossing route against the University of Miami, outrunning every single defensive back we had on the roster. That's where you should have always been. But it's I'm from here and I want to go here, so y'all should let. I should be the one who dictates where I play to the University of Miami. And that same kind of connection was not the same with these other schools.
That said, we have seen some short quarterbacks, relatively speaking, not to that degree, succeed at the next level. Drew Brees was even considered short at the point that he came out in 2001. More recently, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. And with Murray, it was about his stature as well as being a quarterback that was able to play at the next level in a diminutive size. All I was saying while you were gone for a few seconds there is that there has been an adjustment in regards to what size can play, not just at the college level, but in the NFL game with Baker Mayfield, with Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, in particular Murray.
6 foot 6 foot 5'10". That's 6'6" and 4 inches taller than Tutu Atwell. Like, no, you don't have to be Dan Marino. You don't have to be Drew Bledsoe, 6'6", 265, 250, whatever. You don't have to be Cam Newton, 6'6", 250. You don't have to be that size. That's not a prerequisite necessarily. But 5'6", 140 pounds? No. And again, Tutu Atwell has an arm. I've seen him throw the ball 50, 60 yards in the air at Travis Powell. I've seen him let that thing fly. No, he wasn't going to play quarterback here. He's not going to play quarterback in the NFL. And it was asinine for all the people associated with his recruitment to try to strong arm Miami to say, okay, he needs to play quarterback at this level. Otherwise, we're not going to have the conversation. Well, then you're doing this player who you claim to support, who you claim to know and love and want to do the best. You're doing him a disservice by trying to strong arm that and have that happen, because it's not going to happen. And then you turn around and say, oh, well, we didn't want him. No, we would have taken him at this other position, but they didn't want to engage in that kind of conversation. So now what are we supposed to do?
Most Miami fans, Cam, seem to be very satisfied, pleased with Manny Diaz and his staff's recruiting efforts right now.
I mean, through the previous seasons, yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at Mark Richt's 3 classes. The first one ranked 22nd in the nation, and there's always that issue in trying to evaluate a coach's first class because they come in sometime after the last coach was fired, and it's usually a December/January hiring, so it's not really their class. They just try to pull in as much as they can and finish off and finish strong. So that's really not completely a Richt class at 22. The other 2 classes were number 13 in the country and number 8 in the country. So just from a sheer ranking standpoint, the recruiting is on par, no better, no worse than Richt. But it just seems like most people are optimistic, satisfied, pleased with the recruiting effort.
Yeah, I mean, but then you also look back at that, 2018 class that ranked 8th nationally? Lorenzo Lingard, 5-star, never did anything, he transferred out. Mark Pope, 4-star on the composite, 5-star on Rivals, hasn't really done anything. Jaron Williams, top 10 quarterback in the country. He did stuff and then decided to, skip meetings and smoke weed, and so he's gone. DJ Scaife seems to have really hit a ceiling. Brian Hightower, another 4-star, gone. Gervin Hall hasn't lived up to his billing. Gilbert Frierson, okay, he's playing. Will Mallory's going to step into a starting role. Marquez Azard, 4-star guy, he left already. Cleveland Reed left and came back. GJ Ivey is hot and cold. D. Wiggins, we've already talked about. John Campbell, didn't even mention. Gregory Rousseau obviously was the gem of that class because he was a wide receiver and defensive end. Wide receiver and safety, and he's played well. Obviously going to be a top, should be first-round draft pick, if not maybe, a little bit lower. Jordan Miller's still on the roster, and he's getting to the top of the rotation. Nigel Bethel gone, Realist George gone. He even flip sides the ball. He's at Missouri now, but he was playing fullback here. He's going to play defensive tackle there. And Bubba Baxa, we all know how that worked out. So even of that class that was 8th ranked, I mean, there's some things to like. Nesta Jade Silvera up towards the top. Okay, cool. Al Blades Jr. is in that class as well. Brevin Jordan, that's, probably along with Gregory Rousseau, the stars of that class. But there's a lot that seemed like it could have gone really, really well in that class that didn't necessarily develop and perform at this level like we thought it were going to be. So there's some of that as well.
So this 2021 team is going to be 3/4 Manny Diaz, in that range, somewhere in the range of 75% Manny Diaz recruits.
Yeah, give or take. I mean, yeah, it'll be somewhere in that range. But I mean, he's taking back to the sticks as defensive coordinator as well and everything. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, in general, over the course of the last few years, yeah, things have been pretty good. I really like this last recruiting class for 2021. It's going to be a different prospect for 2022, though, just because, first of all, you're inverting the way that you're doing things, and then you're starting pretty much from scratch. So, we'll see how it works.
Brandon is asking, Cam, do you think Jeremiah Payton will put it all together this season, or is it too late for him?
That's another name at wide receiver that I didn't even mention, who's a talented guy, was a 4-star guy out of Jacksonville, Duncan U. Fletcher High School, who has all the talent in the world to be a contributing guy here. And hopefully this would be it, because this is year 3 for him on campus. So, I would hope that if you're going to put it together, this would be it. And maybe not even as a starring role. Maybe he's your number 4 guy, or your number 5 guy, second wide receiver off the bench, solid contributor, 18 catches for 255 yards and 3 scores, somewhere in there. You know what I mean? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's putting it together for him, and maybe that is where he can go with it. But yeah, just like some of those other guys, we're getting to rubber meet road time for him. So hopefully, for his sake, he's able to put it together and find his way on the field and be a positive, impactful player on this team this year.
We've got masks available for free, 35 of them. Major college teams, including the Canes at voiceofcollegefootball.com. Check out the site. Even if you don't want a mask, check out the site. If you want a mask, register for free at the top of the screen, and we'll get you a coupon code and your mask. All right, Cam Underwood, State of the U, breaking down Miami football. We are 9 days away from the spring game, which will culminate, of course, 15 sessions in the books for the Canes heading toward August. Somebody had asked earlier in the live chat, for you, what would be the evaluation of where D'Eriq King needs to be physically to cut him loose for week 1 versus holding him back and going with somebody else in week 1 against Alabama?
90% or better. I think that maybe, with a sleeve or a brace or something on that knee. But he needs to be in a range where normal activity will not exacerbate the injury. And if it's 80%, I'd save him, for another game, and I don't want the season to be over before it even starts. I don't want the 2015-16 Florida State, DeAndre Francois blew out his patella tendon in the opener against Alabama, and then nothing was the same for them. I don't want that. So, if he's in that 90% or above recovery range, again, where normal activity will not exacerbate the injury. For me, that's the thing that I've always looked at. If you're doing what you normally do in the game, and that is a thing that can continue or accelerate the injury, exacerbate it in a negative way, I don't want that. If you get high load like Boobie Miles in Friday Night Lights and they hold your leg and something like that, if it's a dirty hit like what blew Willis McGahee's knee apart, if it's something like that, that's an outside impetus. You know what I mean? That was not native to the game of football. So something like that you can't really defend against or prepare for, because freak accidents are freak accidents. But if you're doing something native to, football, if you're quarterback, if you're dropping back, if you're rolling out, if you're running, if you're, planning to run and cut, which is what we know D'Eriq King does, right? So if you do something native to the actions of the game, and that's something that will continue to hurt or exacerbate the injury, I don't want him on the field. But if it's to a point where he's 90% or more healed, where he can do his normal actions, again, I'm not saying that you won't get hurt, but the injury might come from somebody hitting you or outside impetus, not just you doing what you normally do, then I think I would be okay with it.
Yeah, something that could happen to any player in the field who's 100% healthy walking out onto the field. Putting the standard aside, the standard is to win championships and to bring this program back to where it was previously. What is a reasonable yet optimistic outcome versus Alabama that you would be pleased with? The type of performance?
I mean, looking like we belong there. I would like to keep it within 14 as a result, because people are going to look at the result, the score line, not necessarily the whole process, but the process along the way. I want it to look like we belong on that field. You're not giving up 57 million tackles for loss. You're not giving up, 10 sacks like against Florida that year, which was such an outsized number. Even for a very good defense, and admitting that they were a good defense and things like that, that was such an outsized number. 17 tackles for loss in the game, 10 sacks. That's just, the offensive line was so overmatched. You know what I mean? But I don't want it to be that. They might scheme us up, take us up top. They got big physical dudes. They might run over an offensive lineman for a tackle for loss. Their running back, whichever one it is that's going to be running the ball now, their quarterback, whoever it is, they're going to make positive plays. I'm not saying that there aren't going to be those, but we got to get our hits in too. You know what I mean? I don't want this to be Mike Tyson versus Peter McNeely. Ding, 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 9 seconds and it's over. I don't want it to be that. I want shades of Hearns Hagler, because if they're going to throw haymakers, God damn it, I'm going to throw haymakers too. And we're going to land a couple of those, And, I want to see that kind of a thing. I want to see, if we get knocked down, because things go wrong as they sometimes will. Maybe they got a little check left hook and all of a sudden I didn't see it coming. Whoo! All right, took a knee, got knocked down. Get back up and get in there and keep swinging. Don't just cower, And I do want to see, there's a thing that a good friend of mine, I got to give him a call actually, Bud Elliott, who used to be is the founding editor for Tomahawk Nation, who's now over at 247 with CBS Sports, sorry. He always was one to point out, if you're playing to win or playing not to get blown out. And it's very clear. You can clearly see it. It's by the play calling decisions. It's by the punting versus going for it decision. There's things where you can tell I'm trying to win, be competitive, or I'm trying to keep this score on the scoreboard respectable for my job prospects, the job prospects of those on my staff, and recruiting going forward. Even if we lose, I want it to be where we're playing to win and be competitive, not playing not to get blown out. And we've seen these games, right? Like that, let me see, the 2014 FSU at FSU, I want to say. It ended up being 41-14, but it was 21-14 and a half. That's the game that Duke Johnson broke his ankle. For the first half, we had that touchdown to Allen Hearns up the sideline towards the end. It was 21-14 at halftime. All right, cool. All right. That was playing to be competitive. In the second half, without Duke Johnson, it was playing not to get blown out. And we weren't even able to do that. You know what I mean? Like the Clemson game in the ACC championship game a couple of years ago, that was a game that quickly went from playing to be competitive to playing not to get blown out, not to get 58-0 embarrassed. Because the playing to be competitive, that was the play action to Jeff Thomas that Malik Rozier should have still thrown, because he was butt naked, wide open, doing backflips and cartwheels through the secondary. They wasn't even through the secondary. They were gone. Gone. Didn't throw it. Okay, cool. They get up a couple touchdowns. We go to Operation Shutdown. We're slowing that tempo. We're calling different kind of plays. It still ended up 38-3, and we got those 3 points at the end, right? But if we were still going very aggressively, that could have been another 40 or 50 burger. You know what I mean? So we've seen things where playing to be close or not get, or playing to be competitive and playing not to get blown out. I want to play a competitive game. Even if we lose by 14 or 17, I want to have that, not Operation Shutdown for the narrative or optics kind of a thing. That for me is what I'm looking for. Absent an incredible performance that leads to us actually winning, like outright. Like that would be the number one for me, where we come out there, we hit them in the mouth. We're up 21-0 in the first quarter, like so many teams have been up against us in the last few years. I would love that, realistically, because I don't think that Alabama's going to poo the bed like that. A competitive game between 10 and 17 point or a margin of victory for Alabama, where we play competitively and showcase our pedigree throughout the game.
Nothing gets me to Twitter quicker on a football Saturday or Sunday than a coach who makes a decision that is clearly at some point in the fourth quarter. Let's say it's a 17-point game and there's 8 minutes left and it's 4th and 5 and they're at their own 28 and they need to score. Who cares how much you lose by? You have to keep possession of the ball and score to have any chance to win the game. And you're playing. I hate that.
But that right there, that's what I'm talking about. Playing to be competitive versus playing not to get blown out. Because if you don't get it and you give them the ball at the 25 and they've already had a couple of long drives and you give a short field against your defense, they're going to score there. If you get another turnover, you're going to score there. All of a sudden, that 8-point game gets to be 22 or 23. And all of a sudden, the optics look different. And it's easy for us, not paid coaches, not affiliated with these teams, to say this is what it should be. But then again, there's also metrics and numbers that support things like this. Like if you're actually trying to win, it's not just that last 2-minute drive to the point. You know what I mean? Like it might be 13 and a half minutes left in the fourth quarter. I got to go now. Like right now. Or else I punt it and I give them the ball and they're going to have a 6-minute possession that probably ends with 3 or 7. And now I'm even further in the hole, and now I'm going to try to have Operation Shutdown, and I'm going to say, oh, a 13-point loss isn't that bad because we were close and they got a late score. They didn't really get a late score, but it's that kind of a thing. That right there, that kind of scenario that Mark just put up there, that's the difference between playing to win or be competitive, if you want to call it that, playing to be competitive versus playing not to get blown out. And those are two very different things that you can tell from things like that.
Much different situation, but it draws to mind the call that Bill Belichick famously made against Peyton Manning about 10 years ago, way before anybody ever thought about doing this, on like a 4th and 2 at his own 28. Just didn't want Peyton Manning to get the ball back. And so they went for it. He thought Tom Brady has a better chance of converting 4th and 2 because he'll probably hit this 80-some% of the time. He completes 70% all over the place. So 4th and 2, probably an 80-some% completion percentage pass. Right. Versus giving the ball to Peyton Manning with 2 minutes left.
And is it a tough call? Yeah. Will lots of guys do it? No, but that's the difference between, playing. I mean, well, obviously they were in the lead, so you're trying to.
And the security of being Bill Belichick.
Well, I mean, you have that, cachet as well, but like it's a tough choice. Sometimes you got to make tough choices if you want to win, bro. That's just how the way sports works.
Yeah, I am often fascinated by the, from both the coaching standpoint and the player standpoint, that fine line between playing scared and being in a place where you take calculated risks, not foolish risks, but playing loose, whether you're making the calls from the sideline or actually executing them on the field, but playing loose, coaching loose, and not scared, but still being wise at the same time. It can be a fine line.
I mean, it's like, if you're a basketball player or anything, I remember when I was playing and I had there were a couple of teams I played on that were really, really good. And we had practiced all kinds of things. And our coach said, hey, if you have it to throw a behind the back pass in this situation, look, we worked on that skill. So it wasn't just, I'm just trying to do something. We worked on that skill. So if we took it out of the bag at that time, cool. If it's a 2-point game on the road at Country Day, I better not see no goddamn behind the back passes. So I mean, there's a time and a place for everything. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things, man. You just you have to be authentic to yourself. And there are some who are way more risk averse than others. But yeah, I want to see the Miami Hurricanes play a competitive game, even if we aren't able to execute all the time because of the excellence on the other side of the ball. that kind of performance is what I would like to see against Alabama. Hopefully for a win, but more realistically with a competitive, respectable-looking loss than, trying not to get blown out or actually getting blown out.
Get your free mask, voiceofcollegefootball.com. It says register for free at the top of the screen. That's where you go. We'll get you your coupon for your free mask and 20% off your first purchase. And even if you don't care about a mask and want to help us grow, just check out the site. Cam, parting shot?
Honestly, don't have much. Just go check us out on State of the U. Baseball's on a 6-game winning streak. Got another couple of pieces going up there. Justin DeTavio wrote a really interesting and funny piece that I will not tell you anything about. You just have to kind of go look at it and enjoy it for yourself. But yeah, we have that kind of stuff going on. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the State of the U, stateoftheu.com. And my Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. And I think that I have Top Chef tonight. Let's go, episode 2.
Michael Love, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Sorry, I almost missed your super chat there. Michael, thank you so much for that. Cam's response is correct as usual in regards to Bama. Let me add, if everyone else leaves healthy, that's a win. Cam, what should be our expectation for the season for our offensive line and D-line? Thanks, guys. So your work's not done yet, Cam.
No problem. Defensive line should be great. Jess Simpson is just an incredible coach. We were one of the top, I think, the best defensive line in America a couple of years ago when he was the coach. There's a deep and diverse amount of talent on this team at both defensive end and defensive tackle. So we should have a really high-level performance, getting up the field, dominating the point of attack, dictating the terms of engagement, tackles for loss, sacks, just all kinds of disruption. I want to see that, and I think that is reasonable for the group of talent and the coach and the scheme that we're employing for the defensive line. On the offensive line, we should see improvement. Again, I talked about this last week or the week before on here. I think that we just have a better, deeper offensive line. I think that we have guys who are just better, and we have another year in the system, another year with Garen Justice's coaching. And there's just some guys who have had to play foundational roles on the offensive line who might be relegated to the bench this year. You know what I mean? So if you're recruiting over or developing over guys who have started, now again, we haven't had the best offensive line in the world, but if you're taking guys who were in the starting lineup and they have increased their skills, but then the other guys on the roster are now better, so that those guys who used to start and increase their skills are now relegated to the bench and rotation opportunities only. I think that, that should be a positive adjustment or improvement for the Miami Hurricanes offense and offensive line. And I think that for the passing game and the running game alike, that would be something that is a well-welcomed sight and should be, easily seen on the field in pretty much every game of the year.
Michael, thanks again. Cam, hopefully we can have you back next week for a spring game preview on the 17th.
I got to look at the schedule from the secret day job because secret day job stuff keeps secret day jobbing, but I will let you guys know. And in any event, even if it's not next Thursday night, we'll see you guys soon. And thanks for watching.